Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me again. It's TeaRon. That's TeaRon, period. And again, it's Tuesday. So you know what that means. You know who I'm here with.
Hey y'all, it's Tuesday, so that means it's me, Tiera Janee, and I'm back with my boy TeaRon for another round of reviews. What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?
Listen, I don't know what's up with
Mm-hmm.
y'all, but baby, what's up with me? Tiara,
Yeah. Yes.
let's just tell it like it is, okay? I
Okay.
think we tend to do that anyway. So there's
I
no
mean,
big,
that's true.
but um, we had our work cut out for us, did we not?
Oh, baby, we did some work, some real work.
I we've been doing this for 27 27 episodes, I think, which is a lot. That's a lot. That's
That
a
is a
lot.
lot. Yes,
We're
a lot.
almost at the big 3. But we've been doing
Okay.
we've been doing this for 27 episodes, and I had never had to work my brain as hard as I did with this. We have never had to work this hard before, and that is because we decided to undertake this latest saga, this series from Netflix South Africa to be exact.
Mhm.
With the series Soon Comes Night. Tiara, how's your brain doing? How are you feeling?
It's feeling overworked and underpaid. I mean, you asked me. I'm just saying, okay? You said we were keeping it real here, and that's what we do. Overwork, underpaid. But no, in
Listen,
all seriousness, it's feeling like mush. I feel like I took in a lot of information. I have a lot of questions, not many answers. Lots of mush happening. How's your brain feeling?
I feel brand new.
Okay, you feel
You know
renewed.
how like when you go to the gym
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really feel like going, but you know you got to go that day. You got to get it in, and then
Mm-hmm.
afterwards your endorphins are going. It was
Yes.
what I'm saying is it was a workout. The workout
Okay.
being the workout being you and I are Black American, and
People.
that's our
People.
lens. That's our
Yes.
lens.
Yes.
That's what we view stuff through. So the review we're
Mm-hmm.
doing today with Soon Comes Night is from that point of view. And I don't know if a lot of people will get the the magnitude of what that means. I
Yeah.
have here, you can't see it, but I have here some notes that I took for this show. I usually take notes for everything that we watch and review just to kind of, keep things organized. But this,
Yes.
I've done a whole PowerPoint.
Oh,
I've done
baby,
a
a
presentation
PowerPoint.
specifically because in Soon Comes Night, we get 4 minutes in, and at that point, we've already heard English, we've heard Portuguese, we've heard Zulu, we've heard what's the other one? Swala. I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
I think it's
Forgive me.
Swala.
To swallow, we hear several languages not even 5 minutes into the series, and for that reason this took a lot of work. There were some things I had to watch twice, some things I had to rewind a few times just to make sure I got it with the subtitles on. So I say that as a disclaimer as we go into this review, which overall the series I enjoy, but I just wanted to give a disclaimer, and that's just overall. Tiara, do you want to disclaim anything else before we get started?
Yeah, I think you said it all. So yeah, just a heads up to the audience when you guys go and watch this after our review, because I know that you will do that. Just put the subtitles on. And don't feel bad if you had to rewind and restart and rewatch, because we
Listen,
too had to rewind, rewatch, and restart.
I think the best way to watch this, if you are not South African, is to watch it the first time, and that way you can kind of slowly pace your way through it, and then you can watch it again, and I think it will make sense. And of course, with series like this where there's mystery and there's all these things going on, there's usually always something new anyway that you'll notice that you didn't notice the first time. But I think it helps So that way, when you watch it the second time, you can relax a little bit. So that's my advice. That's my advice. But we'll get into it. Tiera, do you have the synopsis?
A former freedom fighter orchestrates a series of heists in defiance of the law while trying to evade corrupt authorities and a cop with a tragic past.
Thank you, Tiera.
You are most welcome. Anything for you. Run the trailer.
Yes.
I trained Alex. I want you to catch the uncatchable.
Shabane was trained to hide in plain sight, but that man likes to show off.
As long as you know who the real enemy is. The bloodthirsty man. The bloody politicians. I didn't choose this guerrilla life. It chose me.
So I first heard about Soon Comes Night due to one of the actors in the show is someone who I've grown to have a connection with and get to know a bit. And because I was keeping up with, what he's doing and everything, I got wind of this series. And of course, here on Ubiquitous Blacks, we are trying to expand our horizons across the diaspora and share content about Black and African people across the globe, right? So this accomplished that overall. It is what would you call it? It's a drama. It's a one of those cop series, if you will. What?
Yeah.
I want to know if you were
It's a crime.
It's a crime drama.
Yeah.
What show did it remind you of as you were watching it? I just want to know if we were on the same wavelength.
It was giving a little like Law and Order SVU with a little like, it was more Black. So I would say like a sprinkle of like power a little bit, a sprinkle of like maybe a snowfall, those kind of elements. I didn't see a lot of no, I'll say that. But yeah, kind of those elements. Yeah. All of it.
I felt the same way. I was like, this is very Law and Ordery. I knew it. Well, anyhow, so this series is starring the actor. Now, this guy that I'm about to say his name. Shut up, Tiera. I'm about to say his name, but he's actually been in other series and stuff that have been on Netflix, which I was like researching. I was like, oh, he's in some stuff, right? Our lead character, Alex Shabane, is played by Kwenzo Ngcobo. And Alex Shabane is a former freedom fighter. Just for a brief backstory, when we say freedom fighter, these were people who were basically active in the South African military during the time of like apartheid, if you will. So it wasn't that long ago. And these were people who were literally fighting for their freedom at the time. So the overall story of Soon Comes Night takes place through a few flashbacks. We're mostly in the year 2000 to be exact, but there's a lot of flashbacks at the beginning of the series to kind of give us some background, which takes place in the early 90s. So so Alex Shabane is a former freedom fighter turned rogue. He basically broke off from that lifestyle of doing the militant stuff, and he was like, wait a minute, I could make some skrill by myself. I could do my thing. And he's a modern day Robin Hood. He basically is doing his crimes. And when we start out in the series, we see a heist happening. This is a heist on armored vehicles that are transporting large amounts of money from place to place. And he and his crew, his gang, if you will, are intercepting these vehicles. And they're doing a good job at it. And they're using that money to take back to the ghetto, to take back to the streets and feed people, take care of families. Literally robbing from the rich to give to the poor. Literally Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Is that what you got as well?
That's what I got, Robin Hood. Yes.
um the other lead actors that we have in here, we also have Didintle Khunou, who is playing Tato Sakowati. Tato Sakowati.
You got
She
it.
is a rookie detective who has something to prove. She wants to just make a name for herself, but also we learn through those flashbacks that I mentioned before that she has she wants to sort of avenge her father's legacy. So her father was also on the South African police force, and we see in a flashback, and I'm sure you saw that scene, right? We see in a flashback that her father was killed and she saw the whole thing happen. And then there's a whole tie-in. But before we get to the other character, that scene, Tiara, what did you think about?
Yes.
First of all, what did you think about these flashbacks as you were watching the show? That's a whole thing.
Yeah, that is the whole thing. There are quite a few flashbacks in the show. You mentioned that most of this is set in 2000 Johannesburg, but there are several scenes that include the flashbacks where we're flashing back to like 94, 95-ish. And I just want to say, I do think they did a great job of trying to like remind us of the time, because there's one point, one of the characters, which I'm not sure that we got to her yet, but her hair changes to like a braided bob. And it's basically the braided bob that Jada Pinkett had in Set It Off. And so every time I saw that character with the braided bob, I was like, okay, now we're back in the 90s. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Mid-90s.
Yeah, there were little indications of like, and the thing is, they put it on screen first. They let us know, okay, we're here, now we're here. So you never have to guess. But I think the thing that happens in my subconscious mind with the flashbacks on this series is the cameras that we use now are so good.
Thank you.
Right?
That's it. Yep.
That even in the flashbacks, we're seeing good quality.
Yes.
I noticed on some series where, like, when there's a flashback, they will put like a filter or they'll use a different kind of lens to sort of give that grainy, less high definition overlay to let you know, hey, this is a flashback without letting you know. This series doesn't do that. So you kind of just have to get that little subconscious bit out of your head. Did that happen to you as well?
100%. I'm so glad you explained it that way, because again, that's why I was like, I had to pick up on the little subtle pieces like the braided bob, even the music. I think they did a good job with like playing older 90s music during those scenes. And of course, this is you mentioned a South African piece of work. So like, I don't know this music. I didn't grow up on this music. So to me, I'm like, oh, this must be new. But the whole time I was Shazamming the different music and the different artists, and then finding out like, oh, okay, this artist came out in 99. Oh, this artist came out in 92. So I think they did a really good job of like reminding the viewers that, and again, this is for a South African audience, so they probably already know certain songs.
Right.
Relates to a certain time, but I agree with you. Like with the new cameras, it's like, okay, are we in the 90s versus 2023?
Yeah. And so we go back and forth in the early episodes just to kind of give us a background on everyone. So everyone, Alex Shabane, Tato Sakowati, we see her when she's a little girl and her father gets killed. And then we also get to know Saki. Saki is played by Albert Pretorius, and he's a huge factor in this throughout the entirety of the series. Detective Saki, I saw a comment online. I saw a comment online, and they were like, oh, finally, it was like the trailer for the series. And someone was like, oh, finally, like you got, they actually got a correct depiction of a cop.
Oh, well, would you agree?
Most cops, yes. Most cops that I'm aware of, yes.
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 But Saki he's quite an interesting character, and he's tied in. There's a whole web of things happening here, by the way. So we meet we meet Tato Sakowati. We meet her as she's joining the force and trying to make a name for herself. She's just, graduated. So she gets assigned to be working with Saki, right? And he takes her under his wing. He's teaching her stuff, but there's a whole web that's weaved. And I think the writing on the show was there. Basically, Detective Saki was a rookie when her father was killed when she was young. And she recognized him. She remembered him from that time because, of course, she would. She saw her father be murdered in the street. And so she remembered this particular detective because he was the one who helped solve her father's murder, right? So when she finally got a chance to work with him, she saw it as an honor. And you don't get that immediately until we get the flashbacks.
Before I came here, I did my master's in criminal investigations. I don't just do laundry. At UNISA, we profiled Shabane.
You ever worked violent crimes?
No, but I did do financial crime for 6 months.
It's the hard evidence that will convict him.
The reason I keep mentioning the flashbacks is this. It's easy for flashbacks to be corny. It's easy for flashbacks to be a bit much, right? What I found on this show, Tiera, and you can let me know if you agree with this, is that when I had questions about things that were happening, the show, there would be some scenes that would go on that would then answer the question that I had in my mind. And I was like, that's good storytelling because I was wondering. That was, I was wondering. I was wondering about that. And then they would answer it. But what to you as well?
No, I agree. I felt like there was, again, I already said I had a lot of questions to begin with, but yes, in particular, when they would go back to the flashbacks, yes, that like the way they would hit certain details, it's like, okay, all right, you knew as an audience we were going to ask that. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, it gave that for sure.
Yeah, they were not because I was waiting. Let me tell you something. I'll be watching stuff and I'll be waiting to critique something. I'll be like, yo,
we know.
Y'all left this open.
That's the whole reason for this show. We know.
I'll be like, y'all left this open-ended. Y'all did too much here. But this show constantly was like, I got you. It kept me satisfied. And matter of fact, it kept me satiated because I had questions. I had questions on top of us trying to read subtitles, hear all the different, dialects and languages and follow the story. I already had questions the whole time, but they were like, no, I got you. I appreciated that.
I will say though, with Saki, since you were just talking about that, I felt like his flashback scenes, he looked the same age, or was that just me? Like I was like, he looked the same.
He did look the same age, but he had a bit of hair.
He did. Okay,
he had a bit more hair.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a bit more hair.
Okay. He looked the same. I was like, all right. Sure.
Wow. Before we move on to the other characters, I just want to say the performance from what's his name, Albert Pretorius, was actually really phenomenal because he's solid throughout, but you really get into his character because it's such a pivotal role, and you learn throughout the series. Spoiler alert! You learn throughout the series that the reason that he's the way he is not only because he's working in a corrupt police force and he's had to be witness to a lot of the BS that's going on in the force, right? But also there's that he's working like a madman, right? But also he's lost his wife, he's lost his marriage, and we also learn later in the series that he lost his kid. So he's grief-stricken like crazy. He's taking medicine, and all the while they lean on his, Detective Saki a lot to solve these cases. And in this case, they're trying to catch Alex and his gang. Alex Shabane is doing his thing in these streets. Let's get into the gang a little bit, okay?
Yep.
We'll get into the gang a little bit. So Alex Shabane has a small circle, right? These are again people who were freedom fighters with him in the past, and then they pick up a young boy along the way who they take in as well. So some of the actors we see in that are Mavuso. Let me get these right. Mavuso Simelane, who plays Moscow. Moscow is like, he's like the right-hand man to Alex, in a way. But there is a point where things get a little hairy, things get a little crazy. And when there's a lot of bloodshed that keeps happening, he's the first one to be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm out. And you know, he came back though. He came back though. But
they always do.
But he was the only one that could stand up to Alex and confront him in a way that wasn't like, you know, kissing his ass or showing fear to him, even though he was like the captain of this group. And then we have some other people. There's Anelisa Phewa, who plays Vincent. This guy's a wild card. Let me tell you something, Tiera, and you can let me know what you think. I don't think there's anybody who had more fun playing their character on set than he did.
Yeah, and it's usually the people who get to play those roles that have the most fun on set. Like, because he's spicy. I felt like, again, there was a language barrier, but I felt like maybe he was improvising some of these lines and like adding a bit to it. So yeah, he had a blast. Definitely.
Yeah, he was fun to watch because he was always on 10, and he had Alex's back to a fault. Even when we get to the point where there's a chase scene, right? So and I'm going back characters' names at this point. So Vincent takes Tulani. So Tulani is played by Panch Kasela, and this is he's like the younger person of the gang, right? And he's impressionable, let's say that, but he's you know, he's just taking orders, he's just doing his thing. So when Vincent says, hey, look, we're gonna run up on what was old girl's name? Pearl. We're gonna run up on Pearl, and we're gonna take care of her. I'm gonna circle back to them running up on her, but let me just stay on Pearl for a second, Tiera. So Pearl is played by Dippy Padi, and Pearl, she was you see her being like, I don't know if she was necessarily Alex's girlfriend when you're watching the series, but to her, I think she was in her head.
Yes, because there were scenes where she would be like, I love you. I just want you to know I love you. I love you so much. And he was just like, yeah. Like, he like kissed her on the forehead and was like, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't doing all of that. He was like, no. And so there's a scene where they have a clash, and Alex basically reminds her, he's like, yo, I'm paying you, basically. Like, you know, I'm paying for your company. You know,
you said it so much more nice than he did.
Oh yeah, I said way nicer than he, and that's not, and what I said ain't even nice.
He did not say it nice at all. I was like, whoa, I felt that.
Super deal.
Let me make you understand something. I am not for sale.
Ember?
Yes.
You're not for sale? Okay. Think I'm there. Is it enough?
That was a really good scene as well. But let me tell you something, Tiera. If she didn't fold up like a lawn chair, if she didn't fold like you was playing motherfucking poker,
listen,
baby, she caved in like she was hollow. You understand what I'm saying? No, at the slightest. So when Alex finally tells her off, at the slightest moment, she was finally in her feelings. She said, I'm telling.
And did.
It probably wasn't even 48 hours after the fact that Pearl goes straight to the cops and say, hey, look, I got some information, which I want.
Which I want. Give me a cigarette. I'm ready to tell it all.
Hey, I know I got some info about Alex Shabane. Y'all trying to catch this dude? I got you. She didn't waste a minute. And then and then, like you see it all the time. So now she's running around town, looking over her shoulder, wondering if she's going to be ran up on for snitching. And it's like, you knew before you, she stressed me out. Let me put it that way. What did you think about her folding like that? Because she ain't.
Yeah, it was the ridiculousness of it all. Because I was like, girl, I thought you loved him. I thought you loved him so much. You just showed up that thing. Then she went and snitched. And then at the part where, spoiler alert, she leaves. She's trying to leave the place. And she has, I don't know if you remember this, but she has these 2 giant suitcases and she's like falling down the steps. And I'm like, girl, if you're trying to flee, you're supposed to pack light. What are we doing?
No,
what are we even doing?
She wasn't smart at all. She wasn't smart at all.
Not at all.
So basically, and this will circle back into what I was saying about the boys. So basically, she ends up, getting into police custody, right? So at this point, Detective Sakawati, she has taken the lead helm. They were trying to sort of set Saki aside and put her on, and I think it's because they couldn't control Saki's nerves and he wasn't himself anymore, right? So they saw her and she was hungry and they was like, oh, we can use her. This is the police force. I'm saying they. So they put her in a position of power and she's overseeing this team that has to track down and arrest Alex Shabane and his gang. So there's this whole chase scene. Basically, they want to use Pearl as a decoy. And this is what's hilarious. I don't even know if you caught this, okay? They want to use Pearl as a decoy. There's a scene that I cracked up. So Detective Sakawati, she goes with one of the other officers to, check on Pearl. And they basically tell her, hey, look, we want to use you as bait. So if Alex hears about and knows where you are, then he'll come to us and we can arrest him. That's the idea, right?
Yes.
So when they're telling her this, she's going off. She's like, like, no, look, y'all, no, absolutely not, right? Of course, logically. So she's not for it. But then when she finally is convinced, at the end of the scene, the officer says to her, she's like, so what can you do? Basically, asking, what can you do for me? And the officer looks at her and says, we could do something about your hair.
This is the only way I can keep everyone happy. Please.
What do you guys want me to do?
You can do something about your hair.
Excuse me?
Just saying.
Wait, how did I miss that? Wait a minute. That did not happen.
Because I was thinking, because she's so distraught, she run around the streets. The wig is wigging. Okay, it's dry. It's disheveled. She just looked bad. And the officer was like, "Yeah." She's like, "What can you do for me?" Like, he's like, "We can do something with your hair."
No, how did I miss that?
Yo, it's hilarious. So in the scene after that, what we see is they decide to let Pearl go to a salon that she frequents all the time. And the idea is that someone's going to call. And by the way, when I say someone, I mean the streets. Before I even go further into this, the streets do not play about Alex Shabane, Tiera. The streets said, look, we got your back like 4 flats on a Cadillac. We ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he literally walks around, even when they go to prison, he walks into prison. Everybody's like, hey, what's up?
They're like, what's up? Yeah. It's a family reunion.
I say that to say this. So when Pearl goes to the salon to be bait for Shabane and his gang, they plan to, just set up this ambush kind of thing, right? So somebody calls and says, hey, look, she over here at the salon. She over here, woody, 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 right? So so she's in there nervous as heck. But at the same time, Alex has told his boys, being Tulani, Vincent, and what was the other guy? Oh, wait, there's another person I didn't mention yet. Tulani, Vincent, and did I mention him yet? Oh, yeah, I did. Moscow. There was yeah. Moscow is Simelane, Mavuso Simelane. But he tells them basically he accepts fault for what's her name? Pearl. He accepts fault for Pearl going and snitching, right? So he basically tells them he don't even want them to get back at her. So when this happens, you can see dissension amongst the ranks where it's like a little rift. So Vincent, the wild card, tells Tulani, he's like, no, we're gonna get her. What do you mean? She's, this is our lives too, right? And so the two decide to take up on whoever called and said that she was at the salon. They go to the salon to see what's up, but it doesn't go according to plan. Okay. There's a whole ambush that happens. They end up seeing the cops before the cops see them. And then it's a whole chase scene. So they shooting, they having a good time. Okay. Hey. And here's the thing. I was rooting for them in a very unusual way. You ain't supposed to be rooting for the bad guys, right? But you get to know them a little bit. So I was rooting for them.
But that tends to happen though. Sometimes these stories are written in such a way that like your perspective changes and you do root for the quote unquote bad guy. It was weird.
Yeah. So they finally hop in a car and they're taking off. And there's that scene at the end of the episode where it's high adrenaline, right? And Vince is like, boy, you was doing it up. He didn't say that. I'm saying that. But he was like, talking to Tulani, he was like, yo, that was crazy. And they gunning it. Tulani's not responding. And it was at that point I was like, oh God, no. So that's the first break that we see. So when they get back to this hideout that they were at, you see Vincent break down. He's crying, he's bawling because he really cared about this kid, right? And that's the only time you see him break. But even that, like I said, he's a wild card. He 10 toes down. He's not going anywhere. So even after that, he had Alex's back still. He didn't go anywhere, whereas Moscow did. Woo! The web is weaving.
And is
Tiera, thoughts so far before we wrap it up with how this kind of comes together in the end.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts so far is this. I was watching this series and I'm like, okay, this is action packed. There is a lot happening. A lot of side stories and side plots happening. I appreciate that. But then also, like you said, I felt the same way. I started to like want the bad guys to win and kind of root for them.
Yeah.
I think kind of with cop dramas, that kind of happens a lot. You're like, I always want to root for the cops. I want to root for the, because like you said, you see their stories and you see their history and their background, and plus how they are with one another and then with the other characters in their life. So yeah, to this point, I was into it. Like I said, I was just annoyed with Miss Pearl and her shenanigans and silliness.
Yeah.
I don't know why she burnt that money up. Audience, y'all will see when she burnt that money. I was like, you could have done something else with this money, girl. But
anything. So
but moving
on. So there's a new regime in town that's headed up by Minister Zungu. Minister Zungu, speaking of wigs.
Speaking of wigs.
So in the flashback, I accept certain things, okay? I'm like, okay. So there's a flashback that happens and we see Minister Zungu. Basically, he was also a freedom fighter, but he was like a high-ranking official. He was like a captain or whatever. And he's the one who basically trained Alex, Shabane, and crew to be who they are that we see present day. And at some point, this is the only thing that I did not like about this series was that we never got to see what happened. There was, like I said, there were so many flashbacks, so many side quests that we never got to see how the guys who ended up taking the political route, like going and joining the police force and doing that. We never got to see how they ended up there, even though they were also a part of this group. Getting back to Minister Zungu, so he was just basically, you know, a little corrupt, but a different regime. He came from that same background as Alex Shabane. He wanted to catch him. He, along with let me see if I get this one right. Impiaki Maseko. Maseko was I don't know if he was like a sergeant, or I think he was like a sergeant, but played by Sisanda Henna. And he and Minister Zungu take the same route, right? And we eventually learned that Maseko, who was also a freedom fighter back in the day, knows Alex very well. Any plan Alex got, he's spoiling it, okay? Anything that comes up, he's in Alex's face. Alex comes to his house. They have a quarrel, what do you call it? A tit for tat, right? A exchanging of words. But you can see they kind of have like this undertone of like a mutual respect for each other, because they get each other, but they're canceling each other out throughout the entire series.
I need to we're the government now. So yes, we decide, and we are telling you, I strongly advise you think about my offer. What choice do you have? Either behind bars or end up dead.
You got to watch the series to really get the full thing, but I think I'm kind of just hitting on these key points. So we discussed the gang, people surrounding that. We could discuss the force, some of the flashbacks, but there are also some other characters that come into play. So once we get later into the series, we get introduced to a character that I thought that this was going to be the point that the writers went out to lunch. I really thought, I was waiting. I told you.
I know how you roll.
But again, the series does a great job of answering the questions that I have in my mind. Listen, I'm kind of upset a little bit because y'all was getting me, and I was trying. I was like, ooh, I'm about to, ooh. There was nothing I could do to roast it. So we get introduced to a character by the name of Zaba, okay? Zaba is played by Philip Dikadla, and his performance is phenomenal. He's only in maybe 2 episodes, okay? But he comes in, and I'm gonna paint a picture for you, okay? He comes in, and he's a employee that when we meet him at work. And we just know that he's basically talking to his coworker. He's like, hey, did you tell so-and-so about me? I'm trying to, get this position, get this raise. And then we see him go home. Now, at this point, I rewound it a few times because I was like, did I miss something? Who is this? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this?
Yeah.
Right? Because I told you I had questions, right? So I'm like, who is this? Who is this? We see him at home with his wife. They have a small child. The child is crying his head off. It's just a whole thing. And he wants nothing more than to make a bit more money and have a bit more time to be at home with his new baby. Zaba goes and meets with Moscow. Moscow, again, the right-hand man to Alex in this case. Moscow is the one who has all the information for the inside people, period, right? And this has been, obviously, once we learn, he's basically been the one to set up everything logistically for them to intercept these vehicles and steal money. That's it. So when he realizes that he's basically introduced to this guy who's so desperate, right? And I was wondering, like I said, why are we spending so much time in this guy's home? Who is this character? They answered it. They was like, oh no, this is our guy for the next heist, right? They need somebody on the inside who's going to do exactly what they say. I'm gonna tell you how good this guy was. The actor, meaning.
Yeah.
Again, he's only in 2 episodes, maybe. I got so into his character and what was going on. When it came down to it, things did not go like he had planned. It was at this point in the series that I was rooting for Alex and the gang the whole time, Tiera, but I never felt that they were super sinister until that scene where he ends up killing the guy. So the guy's on his knees begging, like, hey, and Alex is just like, hell yeah. It was
what kind of sound did it make?
look, hell yeah. Alex, it was at that point I was like, yo, bruh does not give when it comes down to the mission, right? He's all about optics and perception because he wants to be seen as this Robin Hood kind of figure. He, helping the people and feeding the poor and all this stuff.
Correct.
But he's very Al Capone in that way, where it's like he's going to do everything for the streets to have his back. And as long as you got that, you're protected for a long time because nobody's going to turn you in. Nobody's going to say anything. But I kind of believed that he had some good in him until I saw that. And I was like, oh, wow. Oh, it was so bad. But also, again, Zaba, Philip DeCotler's character was so good. He was, oh my gosh. In like 2 episodes, I was just like invested. So when that happened, yeah, it took me out a little bit. One person that I forgot to mention as we're wrapping up here is let me see, is Gaosi Raditholo. She plays Lissetti Mache, and Lissetti is we find out is Alex Shabane's baby's mama. And she's the one that had the braided bob. Okay.
Yes.
So she ends up letting Alex. She doesn't ever tell the kid that that's his dad. I think that's out of fear that his lifestyle would not see him be around anyway. But she ends up letting them communicate, and Alex brings the kid a gift. As we're wrapping up, also, there were some things that were starting to be like brought up because they kind of have to lay some seeds for a possible second season. Alex got a crazy cough. Alex spitting up blood. There's something going on there, right? We don't know. And I think he's feeling a bit mortal after feeling so bulletproof and invincible all this time. He's starting to feel a bit mortal overall. He has a run-in where he basically knows that he's protected by the streets. He goes into a police function, okay, and confronts Minister Zungu face to face in front of everybody, knowing that nothing's going to happen to him, right? And even Minister Zungu is like, you probably won't take care of that cough, bruh. So there's something there. We don't know.
Yeah.
And in the end, we end up seeing Detective Sokoati get her man. She ends up catching Alex, if you will, because he's injured and he can't run anymore. And what I thought was interesting is that Alex ends up going back to his dad's place. And we know that Shabane and his dad weren't good. And even the police went to his dad at one point and tried to get them to set up his son. And his dad was like, I ain't no snitch, bruh. I ain't doing that. He didn't say I'm no snitch. He actually said I'm not an informant, is what he said.
Yeah. But
so he wasn't going for it. But when Alex gets injured in the shootout, we like the final, shootout that they were having, we see him injured, taped up. He goes back to his father's house, and that's where they get him, right? But even then, Alex is laughing about it. He good. We see Vincent blow up the headquarters. The police thought they were going to come in and raid it. He runs off. They blow up the whole shebang, and he's off somewhere. So we don't know where he went. So now they're separated. So there's a lot of seeds that are being planted for a potential second season. I just don't know what that would be because there's so many avenues that this could go. But I will say this overall, and then we're gonna give a quick rating, and then we're gonna wrap it up here because woo, baby.
Yeah. Yes. My brain is mush.
I'm telling you, it's a lot. I would have to watch it again to even fully get everything. But there's so many avenues that a second season could be. But I would say I definitely want it to happen because I need to know a bit more. But there's some good storytelling here. Overall, Tiera, I'm going to give a rating here. I am going to give the series in full, because we know not to do episode to episode anymore. I'm going to give the series in full for the sake of the writing and the way that they kept answering my questions and my queries and making sure that I didn't have anything to roast or talk about for real. Like they were like, we got you, bruh. We know you. They tied it up so well for me that I am going to give the show a Queen Latifah. That's where I'm at with it. And it solely comes down to the delivery of the writing and the stories and tying up things in a neat little bow at the end so that I didn't have to keep questioning everything. I'm just now curious and wanting more and not necessarily having too many questions. And that's hard to do. That's hard to do for me.
It sure is.
What say you?
I also would like to give this a Queen Latifah. Just piggybacking on what you're saying, I like the way the story was tied up in a nice little bow, but did leave a few little nuggets out there in case they want to move forward with another season or, kind of pivot the story in a different direction. Also, I appreciated the acting. I appreciated the characters. They were believable. They weren't like kitschy or goofy or like, I don't know. I just feel like they did a great. Sometimes it can get a little. But no, I really enjoyed everyone. I thought everyone did a great job. It was a believable story. And like I mentioned before, I really enjoyed the music. I loved incorporating like the music of the different times. I think that really helped to sell the story. And then of course I love the Shazam. I'm like, what song is this? I never heard that. Okay, so yeah, that was fun for me.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it for us, again, we are reviewing this from a African-American lens, okay? And it's one of those things where watching something like this, where you can just basically get lost in the story and the acting and everything, but there's also enough nuggets going on that we can actually get educated through this. Just like finding new music in a show, seeing a character or an actor perform so well that you go and look up more stuff that they're in. There's little stuff like that I can appreciate. And we'll see what comes of this. So we'll try more South African content under our belt, because I gotta start getting these pronunciations down.
Listen, I think you did a fantastic job. Thank you. Listen, I'm gonna keep it 100 so people know the work you put in.
Thank you.
You have detailed notes. You have consulted outside consultants and make sure that you are saying people's names correctly. You put in respect on people's names. So kudos to you for that. You deserve it.
Yeah. Thank you. And anybody that I didn't mention in this series, just know everybody did an excellent job. Okay. Period. Yes. So, well, with that being said, exactly. That being said, you know me, I'm TeaRon. That's TeaRon, period. You can follow me on Instagram at TeaRon World, on TikTok at TeaRon with 2 underscores on the end. And you can, of course, follow Ubiquitous Blacks all over the socials. You can also email us, ubiquitousblacks@gmail.com. Questions, recommendations, in this case, translations, pronunciations, all of the Asians, please give them to us. And we'll see what's next. Tiera, where can they find you?
Yes, you can also find me at All Things Ubiquitous Blacks, and then on Instagram at It's Tiera Janee. That's at ITSTIERAJANEE. And like TeaRon said, more recommendations, translations, all the things, all the Asians, send them our way. We appreciate you in advance. And if there's anything in this series that we missed, that anyone in South Africa or who's familiar with South African content, if there's any like nuggets or large things that we missed, let us know, because me and TeaRon are racking our brains. We're trying to follow the story, keep up with the language. Like, it was a lot going on. So if there was something we missed, let us know, y'all. We would love to.
Yes, definitely. Well, for now, we are out. Peace.